You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Hello and welcome to Orange County's longest running business talk show. And yes, I am your host, Rick Franzi. And boy, do we have a good show planned for you. Why do you ask? Because Jessica Hubbard is our guest. She is the CEO of Casa Youth Shelter. Jessica, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Rick. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you here. And let's start kind of with you and your background and maybe your journey to becoming the CEO of Casa Youth Shelters.
Absolutely. So we always say at Casa Youth Shelter that success is not linear. And similarly, my path here has not been very linear as well. I have been working with youth in some form for over 20 years, but I began as a middle school English teacher and was loving that, loved teaching, and became a little bit too impassioned about teaching To Kill a Mockingbird. And after completing my master's in educational leadership, decided to go to law school. And that's what brought me out here to California. I was in Florida previously. So moved out west, attended law school, loved the study of law, loved every second of the study of law, but did not love the practice of law very much.
Okay.
And I think if there's one common thread, I'm just seeking a place or an industry where I can find the most impact. And I'd seen some of that in education and a smidge of that in the legal profession. But when I heard about the nonprofit industry, when I had a chance to experience it, I was like, this is it. This is where you can really dig in and make a difference. So I found the nonprofit world and I haven't looked back since.
So talk about the arc of your career in a nonprofit world then, please.
Yeah. So I started at Girls Inc. of Orange County, an organization and a mission that I still love and breathe every single day, and was really proud to serve there as their chief program officer for around 6 years. And did a lot of growth there for myself professionally and also with their programs.
Sure.
And then heard about Casa Youth Shelter's position and decided to take the leap.
So Lucy Santana, who is the CEO of Girls Inc., is a recent guest on our show. So it's a small world here in Orange County, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, especially in the nonprofit world, Rick. Very small.
Right. And in case you didn't know, my wife is a middle school 6th grade science teacher at Ladera Ranch Middle School. So
get out of town. That's where I live, in Ladera Ranch.
Okay.
I taught in Florida, but yeah, I taught 6th grade. That was my area, my favorite year.
That's great. All right. Well, we're off to a roaring start. See, ladies and gentlemen, I told you Jessica was going to be an interesting guest. So let's move now to Casa Youth Shelter and help describe the organization, the mission, what attracted you to become the CEO of that organization?
This is a beautiful organization that has existed in Los Alamitos for over 46 years. Has a beautiful legacy and a beautiful history of serving our counties, but really just the states, the countries, our world's most vulnerable youth. And those are individuals that these are kids, these are youth that are experiencing or have experienced significant abuse, experiencing homelessness, sex trafficking, and or suicidal ideation. And a lot of those are happening at the same time for these kids. And these are children that are seeking safety, they're looking for a home, and they're looking for healing. And Casa Youth Shelter is able to provide all three of those, the safety, the home, and the healing. So they can come here and receive a warm bed and 3 healthy meals a day and clothes and hygiene products and all the basic necessities that they probably have never received, that many of our kids have never received in their lives. But in addition to that, and I think the part of the mission and part of the work that I'm most days most proud of is that they're also receiving that healing. So we have fully licensed clinical team. We're also a teaching institution. So we have individuals who are completing their licensure to become therapists, completing their hours here and learning under our clinical supervisor and providing those hours of clinical work to those kids that need it and their families. So every individual that stays with us is receiving individual therapy, group therapy, and family therapy when and where the family is willing to participate. And that's where the real magic happens. And that's how we are ensuring that we are not just rescuing these children in a moment of crisis, but also preventing future moments of crisis, and also providing them with the skills they need to equip themselves and the resources and the tools in their toolbox that they probably never had before, so that when life does confront them with crisis or adversity, that they're able to rebound and move forward through that with grace and resilience, so that they can build a brighter future for themselves.
That's a very empowering mission and organization that you are now leading. Is there, correct me if I'm wrong, but is there a mentoring program aspect to Casa Youth Shelter as well? Or
There's mentoring aspects to the work, for sure. There's the ability for our volunteers or individuals to come in and to provide support for youth. But primarily it's that clinical care and that clinical support. We have a phenomenal youth leadership program, our YLP program, that also has aspects and elements for mentorship as well. And those are for kids that have either been in our shelter and have completed the program, or maybe don't need those resources provided in our shelter, but could use some support in leadership. And they complete that program, get community service hours to help equip them to become the leaders of our community.
So if you said it and I missed it, I apologize. But how many youth do you have at the shelter at any one time?
So we're a 12-bed shelter, and in many ways that seems like far too few and far too many, and it's both. The answer is both. It's far too many that we even need 12 beds.
Right.
And yet there's so many kids that need these services, unfortunately. So we, in all of Orange County, there are only 18 licensed beds for this work, and we
Wow.
occupy 12 of those beds. So that speaks to how critical we are in this equation and our role that we play in all of, if you're looking at both counties, Los Angeles and Orange County, from Culver City to Huntington Beach, we are the only one that's out there providing these emergency services and shelter for youth that need them. So at any given time, we could have 12, and that fluctuates and changes because it's emergency services and emergency shelter. So kids are coming in at all hours of the night. We're open 24/7. We do not close those doors for any reason, not even COVID. And they're able to enter and, of course, then exit when they complete the program successfully.
So you started, I guess, to answer a question or anticipate what I was going to ask, which is, how do you find the youth, or how does the youth find you to know that this is offered?
It's both, and that's why we just want to make sure that we are all places, including the Critical Mass talk show, so that everyone knows who we are and what we're doing. Because crisis for youth, it doesn't look one way; it looks all ways. And so the kids can find us, or we can find them. Referrals can happen from a family member. A lot of them happen from those teachers, those frontline workers that are working with youth immediately and can see a need for emergency relief. It also happens from our incredible law enforcement team. So the chief of police for the city of Los Alamitos sits on our board, and we've maintained a board seat for law enforcement for, I believe, since our inception of the organization, working closely with law enforcement in those cases of domestic violence, or in issues where a child has run away or is seeking immediate shelter. So we work together hand in hand. And that's through the entire county, and actually through Los Angeles County and Orange County. So they're finding us, we are finding them. It's both. We have an active social media. The kids are on social media, so that they can hopefully find us that way too.
Yeah. You mentioned human trafficking, and I think people who live in Orange County, or maybe outside of the county, who have an image of what Orange County might be, maybe from the news or the media or the TV shows that showed the beach and Disneyland as the happiest place on earth, may not realize what an issue human trafficking can be and is in our county.
Oh, and it's just so prevalent. You know, everyone thinks that Orange County is one thing, you know, the
Right.
Bentleys, the Botox, and the beaches, but
I
there's
like the way you said it better. Yeah. Okay.
there's a lot more, and human trafficking and sex trafficking is touching our community, impacting our community every day. It's something that I share. It's my honor to share that I am a survivor of sex trafficking. It's important for me to share that because they see somebody that looks like me with all the letters after my last name, and they're like, that doesn't compute with what I think I know about human trafficking. And they think that it's, you know, somebody sneaking into your home in the middle of the night and crossing country lines and taking you out of the country, and it can be. It can also be the soccer coach. It could also be the youth pastor, or it could be your middle school math teacher, like it was for me. So that individual that kind of moves into your family and moves into your world, and it and changes the trajectory for that child's life in a really awful way. It's insidious and it is prevalent, and so I don't ask our youth to ever speak on that, but I share that so that I can be a face and a name and an experience for something that is happening all the time.
That is, thank you for sharing that here on our show today. And you're right, that is a powerful example to others of not letting that episode define the rest of your life
Mm-hmm.
and not stop you from achieving what all you achieved so far, which I think is so powerful. What I didn't fully appreciate, Jessica, before this conversation is that you're intervening in the crisis time in this youth's life, which the image that it brings with me is just a lot of requirements on Casa youth to be able to sort of provide that safe haven for a period of time for a person who is probably feeling out of control.
You're exactly right. It is working with what I often term as the least sympathetic age group. They are teenagers. I think other than your senior citizens, they are the least sympathetic age group at their most challenging and difficult time. So it is, I had one board member, he's recently deceased and we miss him every single day. And he was an incredible judge, and he created in this county the drug court, which is known for providing second chances, and we're an organization of second chances. And he would often describe this as the ugliest work. And that is a really profound way of putting it. It is the ugliest work that exists. This is not pretty work, but it is necessary, and it is beautiful work. And when it's done right, which we do it right at Casa Youth Shelter, we are making a difference. And I think there's also then that incredible gratification of knowing that you served a population at their most vulnerable time, when most people would want to turn their backs on them, and help move them not only through crisis and a moment of incredible need, but also to prepare them in the future for beautiful success and a bright future.
Yes, it takes that to bend the trend of where the life might be going if people like you and organizations like yours aren't there to stop it and push people in a positive direction instead of letting it continue to multiply. So let's talk about challenges that you might be facing at Casa Youth Shelter. Is there a current challenge that your organization is facing? And as the CEO, what are you doing about it, Jessica?
Yeah, there's always a challenge. There's the challenge of, I know there are so many kids out there. How do we make sure they know about us and they can come to us and they feel safe to find us and come here? Because that's tough. That is tough to say, I'm ready to receive help and I'm going to go somewhere. My crisis feels familiar and comfortable, and I'm going to try something that's going to help change my life. We ask our kids to surrender their phones. You know how hard that is for a teenager right now?
Jeez,
But we have them do that because it's a facility that's working on their mental health, and this is like the worst thing for that. Yes. And it's also one of the number one ways that those traffickers are keeping in touch and keeping that tether. So we want to disrupt that. So we ask them to surrender their phones. So challenges there in reaching our youth. And and saying, come on this journey and let's stick with it, and let's show you the possibilities for your future. There's also the challenge of we are in a growth phase. I've been here for 18 months and hit the ground running, and seeing just the potential for this organization and seeing what it was already doing beautifully for 46 years and saying, why don't we just do more of that? And let's do a lot more of that. So growing fast enough and having the infrastructure in place so that we can grow as quickly as my ambition, as the community needs need it. So.
And that takes money, doesn't it?
It does.
It is. We have many for-profit business and entrepreneurs, and that's not easy. And when we have our nonprofit guests on the show, the reality is usually your clients aren't paying you anything, and you've got to go get the money to support your customer base, your clients, as from others. So I know you have two upcoming being, kind of within the next year, but you have two seminal events that the shelter does to raise awareness and funds. We have one in November and then another one in May. I'm wondering if you could talk about each and maybe what people could expect if they attend and who should attend.
Yes, I would love to. Thank you for the opportunity to share that. And you mentioned before, Rick, that, the work is hard, and that the individuals that work here are kind of the heroes, but our donors are the heroes because they make this work possible. So we cannot do this without them. And also, like you mentioned, we don't charge anything to our children or their families. Not a single dime, not a penny is collected from them. So we depend on the kindness of those with those giant hearts and the ability to give and support this work and support its mission. So we do have two upcoming events that will allow people to get involved and get excited about this work. There's one that's brand spanking new. We have not had an event like this before, and I am thrilled. I shared with you my story. You also know I have a lot of letters after my name because I have believed, and I continue to believe, that higher education was the way out for me, out of my crisis and out of my life and childhood of poverty. It has served me well. So I'm going to just keep doing what I do. And we promote higher education for our youth as well. So we have a scholarship luncheon on November 1st. That will be the first one. We've had a scholarship program for a while, but this is an opportunity for the community to wrap its arms around our youth and let them know that they are supported with funds to be able to continue higher education or pursue higher education. So we're really excited about that November 1st luncheon. And then we have an annual gala that we've had for many, many, many years. And this one will be on May 10th of 2025. That's our annual gala, and more information to come about that event. But it's always, what I love about our events is they are mission first and mission focused. So the glitz and the glamour, maybe a little bit, that you can put on a nice dress, put on a nice suit, but it's about that mission. You're going to walk away knowing who we are, what we do, and tears will probably be shed because it is, as I shared, ugly yet necessary work. So people will feel all the feels.
That's fantastic. And I assume the November event is, people can find that on your we're going to get to your website here in a couple minutes, but that information is probably ready, available, and we'll help people to figure out how to find out how they can attend.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I like to talk with our nonprofit leaders about, where is the money coming from? Does the state, does the county, are you doing grants? How are you? Because that's a big part of what the CEO's job is, isn't it? It is. Always grow the fund so that you can expand the mission.
Yes, it is. And as I always was reminded and learned from Lucy Santana, my mentor, that, you start every year at zero. That's how it is. You do all that work. You throw the gala of the century and then you start all over again, which is fun and really daunting. So for us, we are almost exclusively privately funded. We have one small government grant right now, not small, but a decent sized government grant. Sure. But we're mostly private funds from private foundations, family foundations, individual donors. Our board of directors, who is absolutely phenomenal and leads and provides with their whole heart. We have many founding members on our board. And this is personal to them, and have sustained this organization for 46 years. So we've expanded now more into some more public funding, and there will be more of that we'll be pursuing as well, because these are public interests, these are public concerns, and we provide solutions for the public.
So as the CEO, what is your vision for the future as you continue to evolve Casa Youth Shelter?
The vision is, it's more of it. It's more of what we've been doing. So I think we've been really phenomenal at meeting our youth at their moment of crisis, intercepting and receiving them wherever that might be in that moment of crisis. Areas that we've already begun to expand in is what comes before and what comes after that. And that's where I think we stand to have the greatest areas for growth. So in the prevention work, to ensure that we're going to always exist. Sadly, we will always exist. There will always be a need for those 12 beds in that shelter. I'd love to tell you that we're going to eradicate the need, but that's probably not the reality. But what we can do is pour some more effort and time and resources into the prevention work so that fewer kids will have to need our services and need that shelter in the future. Or if they do, they'll need less time and they won't need to stay here as much. So more in the prevention work, we've been expanding and working and partnering with our local school districts to get into their well spaces and bring our counseling services, bring basic needs and resources, because let me tell you, what a gift card can do for a 15-year-old kid is mind-blowing. You can really change everything. You can say, here, go get those soccer cleats that you need to try out for soccer so that you can have something to do that's positive instead of getting into mischief or joining a gang. So the way that can help a kid is something that we provide. And then on the aftercare area, so after that point of crisis, or as they're further along down the road, providing them with case management, additional resources, that scholarship program that I mentioned before. And the other big piece about our future that I'm really excited to share is that we are the very recent recipients of a Cal Optima grant in the area of transitional housing, which is going to allow us to build a new facility to expand our work and now provide care and transitional housing for youth ages 18 to 22. We've served 12 to 17 for 46 years. And what we kept seeing over and over and over again is as they turned 18 and reached the age of majority, because we are a government licensed facility, we had to let them go. We had to have them move through a very safe and stable exit. But the options for kids at 18 were pretty dismal. And now we're going to be able to provide a new facility that expands that opportunity for those youth to continue their work with us, continue receiving support, counseling, services, resources, and safe and stable housing with us as they can get ready for their next step in life. As I've been sharing with people, I think that we've operated as a beautiful semicolon, and that new facility is going to be a period to that work. And we're really excited that we can provide that punctuation mark.
No, you got away with words there, Jessica Hubbard. I like that.
Thank you.
And in Orange County, building a facility is a tall order.
It
because
is.
This is an expensive county for property and real estate. So for you to be able to have that on the horizon is super exciting. Congratulations to everyone in the organization. I'm sure there was a lot of time and effort to get you to the point where you are today.
A lot of pieces, a very generous donor that provided us with the funds to even have that land. So we've had that land kind of up our sleeve. And now Cal Optima is going to come in with the next phase. And then we'll be reaching out to the community to support us for that additional phase to complete that project.
Yeah, that's so important because you're right. At the age of 18, all of a sudden the government thinks something's different about you, but for the person, what's it really? And
Yep.
And that people can undo all the great things that happened up to that point without the proper mentorship and guidance. So I'm excited for the work that you're doing. I think this is super. I'm so happy that you've been a guest on our show. If someone would like to maybe connect with you directly on LinkedIn and learn more about your organization, what do you say they do?
Please reach out. Very accessible. Find me on LinkedIn. Or you can also reach us on our website, casayouthshelter.org. Do not forget the .org part. We are a nonprofit organization, and there's space there to reach out to us, to contact us, and of course, to donate and be one of those incredible individuals that makes this work happen.
I want to thank you for your time. I know you're super busy. You got a lot of plates spinning, and you're doing fine work for our people in this county. So thank you for taking a little bit of time to be with us today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And thank you to the audience. Jessica's show will now join our catalog of over 1,500 interviews that we've done over the 15 years that we've been interviewing nonprofit leaders and Orange County entrepreneurs. If you're one of those and you would like to tell your story on our show, it's super easy. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. If we're not connected, I'm Rick, R-I-C, Franzi, F-R-A-N-Z-I, and just say in the connection request you have an interest in being a guest. If we are already connected, just send me a message, email, however is best for you. And between Haley, our producer, who's been with us since 2016, and myself, we can get you ready to be a guest on the show. And until the next time we all have a chance to be together, I hope all of your decisions will move your organization in a positive direction.